We're all gathered round. I'm Stan Kasten. I'm the president of the Dodgers, and I want to welcome all of you here today at Dodger Stadium. Over the years, we've experienced so many wonderful games here, and of course, many other wonderful events. But in all of those years, in all of our 6 decades, I'm not sure there's ever been a day with an announcement more important than what we will be announcing here today. So with that, let me turn it over to Casey Wasserman.
These last few weeks have been quite overwhelming, I think, as a lifelong Angelino. The pictures we've all seen, being here and living here, and the experiences are things I don't think any of us imagined would ever happen in Los Angeles. And at the same time, the outpouring of support, of commitment, of engagement from the community has been really heartwarming. I truly believe there's nothing LA can't achieve when we work together. I really believe this is one of the 3 or 4 most important cities in the world. And I think what you've seen in the last few weeks as the city has come together is I think we now all embrace that opportunity to work together. Working together it's a police helicopter. There you go. You're safe, Governor. You're good. LA and California is a special place, and what makes it special is it's built on the private sector and the public sector working together. We have an incredible history of it. It's what makes this place unique. It's what allows the things that happen here to continue to be world-breaking and extraordinary, and that's what this effort requires. The private sector has to come together both operationally and philanthropically as part of the rebuild and in many ways the rebirth of LA. You know, part of my responsibility will be welcoming the world to Los Angeles in 2028. And we will start those Olympic Games by lighting a flame, and that will be a flame of rebirth and reimagination of what LA will be. And this process and this journey we're about to start with LA Rises is not about the next month or the next year. This is about what LA is going to be like for the next 50 or 100 years. And I'm very thankful to the governor for his leadership and obviously to Magic for his incredible legacy and what he continues to do in the city and the commitment they're making to this effort. I love this city and I couldn't be more excited to help lead this effort, but it's going to take all of us. And with that, my partner in this effort, a true icon and legend, Magic Johnson.
First of all, I'm so blessed to be here during these tough and difficult times for so many people. We want to continue to send our prayers out to those who lost their home or a loved one, a pet or a livestock. And this city always finds a way to come together, and it's done that in these fires that have just ruined so many people's lives. And I'm so happy that the governor has asked me to be a part of LA Rises because I want to make sure I do my part to bring healing to the city, but also those who lost their home or a loved one. And now if we can just work together to somehow help those areas that were affected by the fires recover. And I know for me, this is something that I've never seen since I've been here over 45 years. But we can come together and make things better, not just for those areas, but for the entire city. But I want to applaud the first responders, the firefighters, because they have done a tremendous job. I want to applaud the governor because he's done a tremendous job in a tough situation. And we need to understand that, you know, everybody wants a quick response, but it doesn't work like that. You know, it takes time. And so we're going to support him and make sure that all the resources that he needs, we're going to help him to help those who have been affected by these fires. And then I'm here to announce something that's so wonderful. Mark Walters, the lead owner of the Dodgers, and the Mark Walters Family Foundation, as well as the LA Dodger Foundation, has now put up and donated up to $100 million to help in the recovery. And I'm urging all these businesses and companies and individuals who have money to do the same. And please help us to help others. Let's reach back and give back and help so many people who have been affected by these fires. But Mark is a tremendous man, friend, and partner. And for him to do this with the Dodger Foundation, his wife Kim is tremendous as well. We're so blessed to have him not only as an owner of the Dodgers and leading us with Stan to win World Series, but he wants to now win for the community. And we should clap for that, because $100 million, that's an outstanding thing. And so I'm here because he couldn't be here to announce this, and I'm so proud, again, to be his partner. But you'll see me working with the governor, with Casey, because Casey has also got a big heart. You don't know all the things that him and his wife are able to do, and I thank you for not only the Olympics, but all the other things that you and I have done. Stan is tremendous. Also, Mark will be on this committee as well. But my focus will be on Altadena, because we're going to be left, those people may be left behind. I want to make sure that that doesn't happen. And so I want to make sure that we remember that. I know Pacific Palisades, I know Pasadena, but I want to focus my attention on those people. And so God bless everybody. Bless our incredible city, our state. And I'm going to pass it on to a man who has probably the toughest job in America right now. But he's doing it with class. He has to take the phone calls, and everybody is want him to focus on so many different issues. But he is working hard and around the clock. And I'm proud that he's our governor, and I'm proud that he's a friend, Governor Newsom.
Thank you, Magic. Thank you, Stan and Casey. I'll brag on them in a moment. But just first, thank you all very much for taking the time to be here. Thank you, Irvin. Thank you, Magic, for bringing to this effort the spirit that it needs. This effort is about spirit. It's about pride. It's about those intangibles, the things you can't legislate, the things you can't manifest. They just take shape because people come together across every conceivable difference, rowing in the same direction to do the right thing, to bend down on one knee to help lift other people up. And that's the spirit of LA Rises. It's around focusing on our sustainable pathway to recovery and rebirth, addressing certainly all the situational challenges that we continue to face as it relates to getting people back into their homes, getting that debris removed, getting those permits processed, and getting those homes rebuilt. But we have to rebuild that sense of spirit and pride in the region and connect the dots between cities that have been impacted, communities that have been devastated, and the larger LA County and region. I'm grateful to Casey and his willingness to commit to this effort. He was quite literally one of the first calls I received hours after this devastation, saying, "What can I do?" The answer is yes, and we dialogued a couple hours later, and the seeds of this process were actually fomented. He said, we need civic leaders to come together. We need the private sector to come together. That's the third leg of the stool. It's not just about the state and federal government supporting local responses. It's about the private sector, the civic society coming together. It's about active, engaged citizenship. It's about people volunteering. It's about people contributing. And it's about creativity. And I think that's really what I want to emphasize. And I want to thank Stan and the Dodgers for bringing that to life as well, to bring to life and to bring to bear with the LA Dodgers Foundation, the Mark Walters Family Foundation, $100 million. It's not just about the resources. It's about the resourceful mindset that those resources represent. It's about their creativity, their capacity to take a look anew at the process of recovery. It's about looking to seek the best and the brightest designers and architects and developers, the best and most modern strategies for financing and developing new procurement strategies to address the issue of cost and address the issue of logistics in a completely fresh and dynamic and distinctive way. All of these are verticals of the larger effort here that we want to bring to bear to create a platform for that kind of engagement so that we quite literally are taking advantage of lessons learned all across the globe as it relates to disaster recovery and even closer to home as it relates to the work that was done up in Sonoma and Coffey Park and what's happened up in Paradise. I come from a city, San Francisco, whose flag has a phoenix on it. It's a flag, phoenix rising from the ashes of the 1906 earthquake, mindful of the recovery, mindful of the resilience, mindful of our remarkable capacity for renewal and rebirth. But the framework that is so essential in that is also mindset that we can't lose hope. I know people feel helpless. I was just at another community meeting quite literally an hour ago. The pain, the trauma, the anxiety, the loss of community, loss of identity, self, place, traditions, lifestyles, all of that cannot give way to hopelessness. And what LA Rises is about is rising out of that and providing a mindset of optimism that it is achievable, that it is possible, that we can come back more climate resilient, come back stronger, meaning better, slightly different, but also mindful in closing, as Magic reinforced, because one of the first calls that I got was Casey. One of the second calls I got was from Magic and his team. Don't forget about Altadena. Don't forget about that community. Generations that had an opportunity, that built wealth. Grandparents, kids and grandkids that passed those opportunities on. One of the most vibrant and unique communities anywhere in this country, let alone the state of California. That community requires its own unique and distinct set of support and intervention. And that community needs to be protected, and that community needs to come back. And I cannot press upon you how grateful I was when Irvin said, I'm all in, because I'm never going to turn my back on LA, and I'm not going to turn my back on the community. And for him to come back together with all of us here today is testament to, again, his resolve and his commitment. So this is the beginning of a process that will unfold, supporting regionalization of these efforts, working collaboratively with the city of LA, working collaboratively with the county of Los Angeles. I want to thank their leadership for embracing this effort. We're going to plug in the local efforts. We're going to make sure we're not duplicating and replicating efforts. We're going to hold ourselves to a higher level of transparency and accountability to communicate what we're doing and to lay out the tenets of not just short-term commitments, but medium and long-term commitments until these communities are fully recovered and people's lives are fully back, and they're not just surviving but thriving. That's the resolve, that's the commitment, that's the purpose of today's announcement. Again, grateful for this remarkable partnership and these three remarkable co-chairs, Mark, Casey, and Magic, and their commitment and resolve, backed by close to $100 million and additional philanthropic resources that we look forward to announcing shortly as well. With that, we're here to answer any questions.
What's the reaction to the White House calling for a freeze on federal assistance?
And if I may just, and I'm going to answer all off-topic questions, and we could spend 2 hours together. Any that are on topic, I'm happy to accept.
And how will that play into the recovery?
That's a good segue. Well done. I admire that. I appreciate that. Look, I continue to have all the confidence in the world. I mean this, and this comes from a little bit of experience having worked with President Trump during COVID, one of the most trying and challenging times in this state, in our nation, the world. And we had a partner, not a sparring partner, a working partner in President Trump during those years. And that's demonstrably true by any objective measure. That was the case. And that's why it was important for me to make that case anew to the president, and was with him just a few days ago, followed up, and have been in contact with the White House following up further. To the extent situationally there are some issues today, to me, all those issues get worked out, and we'll work through them as it relates to our recovery. And I'm firmly focused on building that partnership and strengthening our collaborative spirit.
Governor, can you talk about your vision for Altadena and maybe Magic? Can you also weigh in on what that vision looks like and what $100 million actually means?
Well, I won't speak, obviously, for Magic, but let me just briefly, as he walks over, make this point. It's not our vision. It's community-led vision. Community will determine what the community needs. It's our job to eliminate any barriers, our job to eliminate speculators. You know, I'm grateful. This man to my left did a PSA talking about those folks that want to take properties out from folks that had them for generations, for pennies on the dollar, the kind of fraud that's being perpetuated, the kind of solicitations that are being perpetrated by these predators taking advantage of crisis. And this man stepped up, and I think it's one of the reasons he stepped into this effort.
Well, I think that first, Casey and I were just talking about going there in the next, probably next week. We have to have community meetings and talk to the community and talk to the pastors of churches who are the leaders of that community as well. And we'll come up with a plan and a strategy. Today we're just announcing LA Rises. And then we'll go and talk to the people, because it's all about them. And the governor said it. It's all about that community. And we just want to help them recover in any way that we can, but also want to make sure they have all the information so they can make a good decision. And we don't want them to just have somebody come in, as the governor just said, and take their land. And we want to make sure they have the correct information, and then they can make their decision.
What are some of the lessons you've learned about lifting up black-owned businesses in the past that might be able to be applied now?
Well, I think that's why I'm the right man. You know, I've invested in that community. I know the community very well. I speak the language, and they trust me and my brand. So they know that I want nothing but the best for them. And so I'll be able to relay that message to everybody as we have, again, we're going to walk through, then we'll have community meetings, and then we'll take it from there. But we also have to have the right people giving them the right information. So that's the key, right? Once you have the right information, then you can make a really good decision. Okay?
Governor, you could weigh in on this. The fundamental element I'm sure you've seen it in the residents is time.
Yeah.
And the White House weighed in again today on what I believe the Army quarters that would be 18 months to scrape.
Yes, not going to happen.
Well, are you at least a little concerned that we're being overly optimistic, considering just how the scale of the destruction of thousands of homes and lots of that clear? There are only so many dumpsters or dump trucks.
Yeah.
Talk to us about time.
Well, the essence of this question is not lost on me, because this is where the pessimism can take shape, where people just don't see things happening in real time. But let me tell you specifically what I mean by that. Just yesterday, FEMA sent a letter in partnership with the state of California to the US EPA on toxic debris, hazardous waste removal, saying we need it done in 30 days. The original commitment was 60 days. Spare no resources. The state is offered unprecedented resources. I still have 1,971 National Guard down here. We will do whatever it takes to provide that support for the EPA. They've been provided $175 million, and they need to get it done pursuant not only to the direction of FEMA, but the direction of the President of the United States himself, who wants to move heaven and earth to make sure that happens sooner. So the debris removal, phase 1, we want done in the next 30 days. Number 2, concurrent to that, not after 30 days, concurrent to that, phase 2 debris removal can begin when people do a right of entry. Once they sign off on a right of entry, they can do it debris removal for themselves through a private contractor, or they can get the support from the Army Corps that has a California-based prime contractor, ECC. If they cannot afford to do it themselves, they can have the Army Corps do it. They'll bill their insurance, but there'll be no subsequent bills if it costs more than their insurance line item that's picked up by the federal government. And we are coordinating that at a level that's contemporary in this context to the work that they just did in Maui, with the lessons learned, the examples in Maui. And so they're already on the ground. The colonel's on the ground. He was here a week ago. And we're coordinating that phase 2 to get that done. Now, in that process, that's also a concurrent process. Once the debris is removed in phase 2, goes up on a website, and then the building permit process begins. So all this happens stacked on top of each other. It's not phase 1, then we begin phase 2. Phase 2, we begin the rebuilding. It all happens in real time. So no resources spared. Part of what LA Rises is about is getting the best minds in philanthropy, in the private sector, in industry, experts in architecture, experts in materials, experts, to your question, in logistics, experts in master procurement to look at the issue of cost, workforce that we're already working on, providing an educated and substantive workforce that is prepared to deal with the magnitude of this. All of that is a big part of what we're currently doing, and I know what local government's doing. You're right, be cautious about overpromising, but I don't want to understate what we're capable of when we're all moving in the same direction with a sense of urgency that we brought to bear with the damage assessment team that got that job done 4 days ahead of time, and no one thought we can get it done within 2 weeks. We've proven them wrong already, and we're going to prove them wrong on phase 1 and phase 2. Well, the commitment of the foundation is up to $100 million. We've received tens of millions of dollars of additional donations across the spectrum. A lot have been donated directly. For example, Latino Community Foundation, California Community Foundation, California Rises through the Fire Foundation, which was stepped up after the Paradise disaster. A lot of it's been done directly to nonprofits, some well-known nonprofits, the Red Cross, others more targeted to local needs. And so we're just trying to create a portal to make sure that we're coordinating some of that philanthropy and we're addressing gaps. And the commitment from the Walter Family Foundation and the Dodgers Foundation is up to $100 million. I'll defer to the foundation.
I don't have any more details. This has just come together in the last couple of days.
Right.
We don't have P&Ls. We don't have financial statements yet. We will, and perhaps we'll have more details for you then. For now, we thought the safest thing to say was we're going to give up to $100 million. So that's all the color I have for you standing here.
I have all the expectation with the brand they built and the integrity of their teams that's a firm commitment. Yeah, I mean, it's the right question, and that's a challenging logistical question, but I'll tell you, it pales in comparison to the challenge of taking all of that debris off the island in Maui. So this is logistically challenging, but it's nothing compared. And so, look, they're working through all of that. We have some regional sites that we're looking at, some that you probably already done some reporting on that are no longer operational, looking to stress test alternative backup sites. But all of this is being addressed in real time. No one's concrete right now. As you know, just getting the hazardous debris sites has been an issue in some of our communities. People want the sites, but they don't want necessarily those sites in their backyards. I'm not willing to go so far as to prescribe any expectation as to where, but appropriate sites. They're working with California, EPA. They're working with our federal partners. This is well, and forgive me, I hate to remind everybody this. This is familiar territory. We had 18,000 units, structures damaged in Campfire, 18,000. We had 5,600 that were impacted in Coffey Park. Huge debris removal efforts. So there's a lot of history here, sadly, and what I mean, sadly, there's some experience here as well. Yeah.
There was a construction shortage before the fire.
Yeah.
There's an estimation that a large chunk of construction work comes from undocumented immigrants. Are you afraid that the latest crackdown by the Trump administration might exacerbate the labor problem?
Well, it's some estimates that 40 to 41% of the construction industry workforce in the state of California are immigrants. It's much higher than the national average. So I appreciate your question. You can imply my response, except to say this, mindful of that. It's not what happens to you, it's how you respond to what happens. It's not the reality of the moment, it's how we get creative. We already are looking at a number of contingency strategies as it relates to augmenting that workforce. I'll give you just one proof point so you don't think I'm just blowing hot air. We are already working with our labor agency and our community colleges. We're looking and working very closely at our apprenticeship programs and looking at scaling the prospect of even out-of-state workers and support for these efforts. So those are just examples of more creative ways to address what is a legitimate concern and criteria of consideration as it relates to what's happening separate and above from this recovery. I'm sorry. Until after, and then I'll respond to yours and anyone else that wishes to have it. I just want to spare them their precious time. But I'll, yeah. The biggest anxiety, I was just I'll give you just a couple of examples from an hour ago. Solicited, rather unsolicited, they were shared. We can't even afford the home that we're in today based upon the cost of square footage. We're on the FAIR plan. We don't even expect to get 60% of the recovery costs. What do I do, Governor? How can you help? And that's when I talk to them about myriad of things that they should look to, including some of the philanthropic efforts that we're highlighting here today. Look, our goal is through the creativity. This is not just about the money. The money is significant. It's extraordinary, actually. And the money that the state and federal government are providing will be ample, has to be. But it's also about being creative and finding novel strategies and doing so in a way that we can recover fast but safely, more resilient and insurable, which is critical as well. So I'll give you an example. We're looking at defensible spaces. We're looking at issues around redundancy and life safety, ingress, egress. I've had 2 or 3 of the world's most famous, you know of some of them, architects that say, plug me in, how do I get engaged? We want to pull them into this process. And we want to make sure they're providing designs. People in the prefab space saying, I want to get engaged. I could bring the cost down significantly. Building construction space folks are saying, you know what? We're doing a lot of this work. We could do it off-site. We've got some strategies we want to engage. So this becomes that platform for that kind of engagement so that we're streamlining that and we're not just doing a Palisades version and then a Pasadena version and then, Altadena. That we're making sure that we're sharing that in a seamless way and we're coordinating and communicating in real time.
LA's going to host the Olympics in a couple of years. We've got the Super Bowl, we've got the World Cup. Hopefully we have the World Series next year.
I expect you might, yeah.
Impact that. And does this change the thought process of that?
There's LA 20. We're lucky we have Casey here.
the easiest way to think about it is LA is in the tourism business. That's how this city and economy and people thrive. And we are the home of big events. You just named them all, but we've been doing it for generations. And so we have to, these events are more important than ever now. This is something we have to grow our way out of economically and operationally. If you think about the Olympics, the opportunity to, it's not just bringing workforce here to prepare the city for the Olympics. It's how do we incentivize people to move here because of the opportunity in Los Angeles, not just now with this tragedy, but with the Olympics and all that's happening here in this region. And so it's really about how do you use these events to change the city forever. We'll be here for 30 days in the summer of 2028, but our legacy is going to be changing the course of LA for a long time. And if we can start that process and lean into this tragedy, take the expertise that we have, the opportunity to bring the world here. I mean, the Olympics in LA will be the largest peacetime gathering in the history of the world. What an opportunity to bring the world to a revitalized and a new Los Angeles. And that's, I think, the opportunity and the pressure and the challenge that the governor has put forward. And it's the right one, which is we're going to make the next version of LA better for everybody. And these events are the things that drive those opportunities.
Well said. All right, guys. On topic, or we can, yeah.
That you're working with local leaders.
Yeah.
And that you know what they're doing. There's a level of speed. What is the county doing in terms of recovery plan? How do they play
Well, I will say President Barger's been an extraordinary partner from day one, maybe hour one. There's been no daylight, and I cannot express my gratitude and appreciation for her and her team and her support of this effort as well. The county, city has a more traditional function, the county more broadly defined, and that's exactly where we want to come in and help sort of smooth over that, because many different cities within that county have been impacted, and then how that county overlay works in a way where we can leverage our support. But I don't want to presuppose their specific strategies at the county level for permitting. We push through our executive orders, our expectations. As you know, we've moved CEQA. We had to double down on Coastal Commission, double down. I didn't think they got the message or memo, so they got a second executive order on the Coastal Act. And we are doing everything we can to drive the local permitting to align with the sense of deep urgency we have through the state. And I doubled down with the president on this as well. This is, again, you got to call balls and strikes. His support in getting FEMA in this 30-day hazmat removal is going to be critical. He has more authority and power over the Army Corps than anybody, which will be critical to moving mountains to get this debris removed. And we want to make sure we're all aligned, federal, state, and local, to drive to accountability, to drive to the simplicity, to get the permits done, and again, to do it concurrently and not have to wait, as someone suggested, 18 months in your question, or more traditional pathways. Those days are over. And in the spirit of what Casey said, can I double down on that? The whole idea of this is a completely revitalized region in mindset, not just infrastructure. That the relationship between the city and county and the state and the federal government, we address some of these long-standing similar issues around jurisdiction, inability to work together across differences, to address streamlining, to get serious about housing, to address these traditional barriers, to revitalize the opportunities here and create a business climate that is more enlivening, more supportive. And that's my mindset, 100%, not just the emergency mindset, but taking that and driving that as it must through the Olympics and getting out the other side in a place where it's not just one of the top 3 cities in the world, it's the most important and essential city anywhere in the world.
Governor, out of curiosity, when did you learn that the U.S. military had made its way into the state and turned the spigot on for water?
All right, well, that's a second question, and it's a loaded question as well. And so I will happily answer that in one moment. Guys, well, I'm going to let these guys go, and I'm going to answer both questions and any more. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I get this question a lot, and I answer it this way. I'm very mindful of that. I'm also mindful of someone that did, under the rules and regulations, get an opportunity to rebuild, and I'm not going to sit here as governor of the state of California say you can't rebuild your home. But if you are going to rebuild your home, you can't rebuild it the same way. That we have to address, I talked about ingress and egress. That's about dealing with the concerns you just described as it relates to emergency operations, as it relates to defensible spaces, as it relates to proximity to brush and to chaparral and to forest, looking at historical burn scars, looking at historical footprints, looking at redundancy as it relates to suppression strategies, looking at what modern building codes could or could not do, look at designs, look at all of those fundamentals. And we've got to be able to stress test all of that, which is a big part of what LA Rises is about, bringing that expertise to bear so that we can answer affirmatively that in this case, absolutely, you can rebuild. But it's a legitimate, larger question about wildland-urban interface. It's a legitimate question in a world where the hots are getting hotter, dries are getting drier, and floods and atmospheric rivers, the wets are getting wetter, that we have to adapt to that reality. And that reality, obviously, is pretty self-evident here in Southern California. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm looking forward. But certainly can't be done the way it's been done. Has to be done radically different. But you know what? But no, I get it. And look, but I also not naive. You know, you had some of the driest conditions you've had in our history. You know, I've been governor. We had the 3 driest years since statehood, and then we had the 3 wettest weeks since statehood that broke that drought. I mean, when are people going to wake up to another self-evident reality? I know it's impolitic to talk about that, but this is hardly unique to the state of California. This is an issue all across the globe. You think we have insurance challenges? Talk to about a dozen other states. The realities of this are rather acute. So we're not going to double down on stupid and walking back in our commitment to address those larger systemic issues and address fundamental issues. But yes, situationally, we're going to have to adapt to them in much more dramatic ways than we have in the past. With that, let me thank our co-chairs and thank the Dodgers for their incredible support and generosity.